Hello, my name is Adela Reyes, and I want to introduce my presentation, My Journey in Time with Aging and Dementia Studies at Texas State University. As part of my work history, I've been a certified surgical tech for 25 years now. And in this picture, this is the team that I work with on a daily basis, and we assist the doctor in surgery and also to do diagnostic tests, especially on the elderly in the operating room. And also, I have experience working with an ENT doctor where they did hearing tests, balance tests to help especially the elderly who had a hearing impairment. So I've had a lot of experience in working with elderly people. What I learned in this program at Texas State is that it's important to build relationships. I quit my job after working with the ENT doctor for over 16 years to help my father when he became ill, and eventually we had to place him in a nursing facility. During this time, I was able to work with the people at the nursing home, and I also applied for a job there as a housekeeper. So I was able to help out with the other staff members, and also I work with a social worker there to do my practicum during the year so I could graduate. And also this is when I decided to go ahead into the MSDA program here at Texas State through the help of the social worker Elizabeth at the nursing home. Family social support is very important, especially with a person who's suffering from dementia. And growing up, I understood we had a large family that was very supportive of us, especially after my father suffered a stroke at the age of 38 years old. My grandparents came over and they helped us at the house for several months to take care of us and to help my father and mother while we went through this trying time. As a young child, I remember visiting my father at the hospital, and I ran up to him thinking I was going to be able to hug and kiss him, but my father wasn't able to do that. He wasn't able to talk to us. He wasn't able to walk or feed himself, and it was just hard for me to see him like that because I'm used to him being the one that would take us to the doctor, to school activities. He was always there for us. So at this time, my mother had to help with the activities of daily living to help regain his strength and ability so that he could learn how to walk again and also feed himself. And also, with his speech impairment, he had to regain his ability to speak to others. And it was very difficult for us. Impairments of patients with dementia, they lose cognitive processes. They lose orientation to place and time, memory, language skills, attention, visual perception, problem-solving skills, social functioning, activities of daily living, and also most of this is caused by vascular ischemia, which can lead to a heart attack or a stroke, as in the case of my father. And also Alzheimer's disease is one of the most common forms of dementia. Elderly with cognitive disabilities, especially with dementia, this little umbrella demonstrates the three different types of dementia that are the most common, starting with vascular dementia, frontotemporal dementia, and Alzheimer's disease, which those are on the top of the umbrella. On the bottom, there's some other common forms of dementia, and each and every one affect persons with dementia and their family members. A travel back in time happens when the patients with dementia or Alzheimer's disease go back into their younger years when they were in their 20s or maybe their teenager years, and they're lost in that time period. To them, that's the most recent memory that they have of themselves. So when they see themselves in the mirror, they don't recognize the person that's in front of the mirror because it's totally different from the perception that they have. And with experienced time travel, they have cognitive, emotional, social, and physical and functional problems that deal with Alzheimer's disease. It is important to have social connections and activities for the patients with dementia. This helps them create well-being and keep the personhood alive, so that they can be treated with dignity and respect. Oftentimes, people think that just because the person with dementia is not able to speak, they're not able to understand as well. But they're always human beings, and they need to be treated as if they're still able to listen and hear and make their decisions on their own, without being told what they have to do. This is why it is important to understand the aging theories, such as a cumulative advantage and disadvantage theory, which states that the disparities in health widen over time, or advantages compound or accumulate over life course, which is also known as the Matthew effect. Person that is born with a disadvantage will usually create more disadvantage over time, and those that have an advantage will tend to have more advantages and more productivity over time. And also the selection or optimization and compensation theory argues that in the face of declining resources, individuals must select their goals and activities to focus on, and that way they'll be able to compensate for the limitations that they have. Last summer, I was fortunate enough to do my service learning in Torgome village in Ghana, Africa. The elderly person here at the village, they had a drum ceremony for everybody that visits there. And by participating, they demonstrate that the community can work together. And also they teach the younger children how to play the drums. And this is also considered a form of therapy, to help those who may have some limitations or disabilities. Connections begin in early childhood, and by demonstrating expressions of love and human touch, people are able to thrive in their communities. These two young girls were on their way to school. They were running late, but they still stopped and took a quick picture for me. Human rights and human justice is very important to establish connections and construct strong relationships during the childhood. And this helps to choose one's path or one's trajectory into what they're going to do into adulthood. Sometimes they overcome unexpected obstacles and traumatic events, and people still learn to be resilient, and that is because of the power of human touch. Poverty is a notion of structural violence of human rights. According to Thomas Podge, nearly a fifth of humans being alive today, 1,175 million, live below $1 a day. These inequalities, especially for young children and elderly, are very difficult to deal with, especially now that there's going to be more people suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And one should make environmental changes to help those people that are suffering, especially the minority groups and those who are more vulnerable, such as the children, women, and the elderly. And one should be able to advocate to make patients with dementia voices heard, to provide a better quality of life and improve well-being. Malignant social psychology was brought up by Kidwood, which described people were not aware of patients with dementia and how to treat them. A lot of times they treat them as children and being infants and ignore them when they're speaking, or they don't even pay attention to them while they're at the home or at the nursing facility. Often they infantilize them. And patients with dementia can normally sense when someone is ignoring them or they're being neglected. There's a negative stimuli in the atmosphere, and also it triggers behavioral challenges. Increasing longevity with person-centered care is important. Employees must be able to change their attitude and create a more positive environment, and also by letting The patients with dementia choose their own foods, where they want to eat, at what time they want to eat their food, and also have different types of activities so that they're able to choose what type of activities they want to enjoy. And also, if there's changes in delivery of direct care, sometimes if they change one caregiver from the other, they may not like that change, and it can trigger some behavioral problems. And also, if there's any environmental changes or modifications of living spaces, it can also have an effect on the person with dementia. Say they've had the same roommate for a couple of months, and then suddenly the other person is no longer there and someone else is new, they may not like to be in the same room with that individual. And also, they must learn how changes on how dementia is viewed, depending on the person and individual. Also, a partnership with the nursing facility and family and communities is important to try to find out what better ways, methods are needed so that the person with dementia is able to live a dependent life. And also, the leadership and the management of the nursing facility is very important in order for them to be person-centered care. Each person has an individual experience in the past, so you cannot treat everybody as the same. You have to look into their past history, see what they used to like to do, what type of jobs they had, and also the type of education they had in the past in order to provide a better plan of health care. My future goals after graduation is to work in a nursing facility or an assisted living home and helping those patients with dementia and their families so that I can help them create connections and increase longevity and well-being. I plan to continue working on my license in healthcare administration and have more exposure in the field of gerontology. In addition, I want to be able to travel back in time with the patients with dementia to help them improve their quality of life, and that way I can understand the basic needs of keeping the self alive.